All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Dave Wilson, Results Staffing. You know the deal. We got a great commercial here, and we'll be right back. I got a great guest for you. Isn't that intense?
That's amazing. Oh my God, I love it.
I told you, $17, Larissa. That's all it costs.
Incredible. Okay,
$17. You don't even need a marketing department no more. No. But hey, everybody, I want to welcome everybody. I have a great guest here, Larissa Haynes, over in the Boston area. Now, I'm going to introduce her in a second, but I'm going to tell you why I am interviewing her. Are you ready, Larissa?
I'm ready.
So, as everybody knows, I need therapy. That's what I call it. I was sitting up last night, or the other night was, and I'm scrolling through, and I came upon Larissa's on LinkedIn on her video, and it was about, which we're going to talk about, the 5 ahas and to action. So I stopped and I read it, and I scrolled back, looked at it again. I was like, oh, wow, I need therapy on this. I got to talk to this girl. So, and then I reached out to you, and you're really going to like this subject, everybody, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So, Larissa, why don't you introduce yourself and what you do, and then we're going to get into these 5 ahas.
Well, I'm not a therapist. I get that sometimes. A therapist, psychic, but I work in leadership and talent consulting. So, on my LinkedIn, it says I'm a behavioral enthusiast. And what that really is that from a young age, I just love people. I love figuring out what makes them tick. And then I love helping them understand themselves. So the essence of the work that I do is I get to go into organizations. I get to work with leaders. I get to work with teams, frontline managers, to help everybody understand who they are through scientific data.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Stop right there.
Yeah.
Science, that's what I always do that when I raise the pen, I guess, or something. But the scientific, explain, that's what caught me about when you said that. Talk real quick about that.
So I am a big advocate for behavioral assessments, and there are a ton out there. And I don't mean the BuzzFeed, which type of cheese am I? And then it tells you a little bit. I've worked with a few different in the past. Currently, I work with Wiley Publishing and their disc products that are been around for 40 years, rigorous scientific backing. And we're really looking not at, it doesn't tell you everything about who you are, but it tells you these 2 planes of behavior or personality.
Okay.
And what it helps people do is sometimes you don't understand who you are because it's really about in comparison to other people. So what the science does, I'm going to get a little nerdy here, is it statistically norms a behavior so that you can understand, are you an extreme of that behavior or are you kind of normed with that behavior? So if one of yours is, pace, right? Moving really quickly. Right. Now, I'm someone who, statistically speaking, is in a very small percentage of the population of how fast I like to move. You can hear it when I talk. That, before understanding that about myself from science, I thought I was super chill and laid back. I'm really not. So it helps people understand who they are based in science, based in statistics, comparatively to the rest of the global population.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to hear on that part. Go ahead.
So yeah, and anyway, we come in, we do that, and then we start to create a language. We create systems to be able to talk about this stuff, right? So you can come forward and say, hey, I'm really intense. I work really quickly. Here's how it helps us. And here's how I know it derails us and screws us up and gets me in trouble. And once you can have those kind of conversations, that's when you're building really strong trust and can kind of supercharge your teams.
Now, is that about when you say that, is that about, when you speak with a group, is it about the group or is it about the person?
It's both. And I love that you brought that up, because as you know, when we're doing a lot of it's just self-awareness work, right? So self-awareness, it's all wonderful if you can meditate in a hut by yourself. Everyone's a great person there. Then it goes into that one person's awareness and an impact on one other person. So pairs, teams, like a manager and a direct report.
Okay.
Really a lot of work there. Then it goes into the team itself, because the team is then going to have its own behaviors based on how everybody's built. So we actually look at the whole analytics of that team's behavior to make a team behavior. Yep.
That's a lot. It's different compared to some of the older tools. I always wanted to say that, but I like team meetings. I like to have everybody sitting around. I always enjoyed that. You're in a circle, you're just talking, and versus watching a webinar that everybody doesn't pay attention to, and you're just unless you get called out.
Yeah.
But the interaction of a person talking and taking all those distractions away. We've gotten away from that. I know at the last company, we just got away from that.
And I love that, especially during COVID, there's so much great learning out there and there's so much virtual learning. But, one of the big things I'm doing with teams right now is, hey, let's bring it back. Granted, we're on Zoom, and let's have a conversation about who we are, about what we need, about what we're not getting right now. And let's do it through the lens and the language from these tools, so that it's not someone's opinion. It's not like, she always talks too much, right? It goes, her pace and how she approaches things and her level of detail impact that. Got it. Clear. So we can talk about it from an unbiased perspective too. And here's the cool one is link it to the value of what the team is up to. So whatever your mission is, whatever your strategy is, wherever you're headed, linking each person's individual contribution and value to that makes everybody work better.
I know. I'm still looking at that scientific. I'm sorry, because I've told you before, prior when we were talking, is with LinkedIn, I have learned so much from different people around the United States and UK and everybody of just that scientific. Okay, how do you match that with a group and a team? So that brings us to what I want to talk about, the 5 A's. We're going to go over one. I just want you to take me. How did you develop the 5 A's first? Let's just do that.
So I developed the 5 A's for myself. Actually, This was back. I was working in finance a million years ago, and I worked in hedge funds, and I was going to a lot. That's all.
Okay, it's okay. No, it's all right.
I was going to a lot of like transformational learning and transformational change, and doing a lot of work on myself.
Right.
And I would get all these amazing ahas at like yoga retreats and all of that, but it was like, how am I going to take it? I always got stuck on like, that's a really great thing to know about myself, but how the heck am I going to make it work? So it took me a couple of years of working with it and working through it. And by that point, I had gone out into coaching and consulting and was using the model on
using
people.
that model.
So the first step is attention. And
well, you have mine now, so there you go. This was this was the easiest part, because I told you I needed therapy the other night, and I got. You know what? I'm not going to talk. Go ahead. Attention. You have my attention. Go ahead.
The attention is really, sometimes we're just so like blinders, moving through life, like checking the boxes, doing the things, feeding the kids, whatever it is, that we don't always stop and pay attention to what's going on and how we're living is impacting the people around us in our lives. So if you're looking to kind of jumpstart something in your life, if you're feeling stuck or bored or whatever it is, just start to pay attention. And that's where your aha comes in. All of a sudden, some lady on a video on LinkedIn, and you're like, whoa.
She got my attention now. Now what? To get through the rest of it.
So you get this aha. Now, how I use this, kind of linking back to what we were just talking about, is using those assessments.
Right.
A forced aha. That's our aha moment, where it's like, oh, you may not have wanted to see this about yourself, but here it is. So that's another way to get into it.
Okay, we got that.
Hey, Bob. Oh my gosh, I'm looking over there. Hey, Bob, I'm so glad you're here. Awesome to see you. And you too, Trivia. Yay. Yeah.
These two, let me tell you, you're going to want to connect, and I'll explain to you about these guys. It's really great. They're good stories. Good guys.
Yeah, Bob's Bob's a good supporter. I'm a big fan. So we've now got that attention. We've got that aha. And that's a lot of times where people are like, oh, sweet, I'm done. I know this thing about myself. I'm fully self-aware and I don't have anything else to do. But there's no actual impact or action that comes from that. Or what we do is going straight into wanting to fix, change, make different, take an action. And it's just too early, right? You just learned how to crawl.
No, it is.
So that next phase is awareness. So the second A is awareness. And
here we go, Tuvia. Tuvia's always like, let me bring Tuvia back up here. I'm sorry, because Tuvia always teaches me this. I'm talking to him tonight. Dave is like playing in a box, a cat box. I don't know. And there's a bunch of cats. Who's working harder? I don't know his story, but it's called, work smarter, not harder. We'll get back to that.
Well, here you are. So the awareness is like, once you see it, you see it everywhere. And at first it's like, oh, cool. And here's just a little warning with this one. There's going to be a moment of like, oh God, I do that. That kind of ick that starts to come with seeing how it helps you and how it holds you back.
Yes.
And that again is a spot where most people kind of want to stop, because it does there's a bit of a discomfort in there. And,
no, that's true. I agree with you on everything. Yeah. I swear, I'm smiling. They know me, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Tuvia, sandbox. All right, sorry, Tuvia, sandbox. All right, go ahead. There we go.
Now, here's the point of like, whatever it is that you're doing, whether, are you a marathoner, if you're a salesperson, that push, right? There's that like mindset spot that you've got to get to of like, I want to get to the other side of this more than I want to go back to comfort.
Right.
So you then choose to kind of surrender into allowing yourself to be this. And that's that third A, that middle one, the allowing.
The allowing. Okay.
And it's a very quiet process, and it's usually kind of internal, but you're allowing yourself to be the highs and the lows, the good and the bad, right? That kind of duality.
So do you write them down? Did you write them down? Is that what you tell people? Or?
Yeah, I have people journal. I'm a big fan of journaling. I'm a big fan of, especially in the awareness phase, to talk to everybody in your life about how that thing you do impacts them, because you're going to get a whole new level of awareness on that.
Right.
And that's when you're going to have to allow yourself to hear it. It's not always going to be great. Some people are going to be like, I love that about you. This is how it inspires me. You're a baller. That push, drive makes me push.
It is. And back to Mr. Tuvia, because I know he loves this. You're going to want to connect. This man has pushed me. He's given me that advice. And sometimes I don't listen, which a lot of people say I don't, but I do. Yeah. It just takes a while to get in here and come out here. But they've given you that advice, and then you sit back, like you say, I'm like, damn, that's not right. Or I don't think that's going to work. But then I utilize it in a way that he's told me in a different way that works for me. Does that make sense?
It does, for sure. And that's where like the awareness meets the allowing, is finding the way that works for you. You're not going to, you're going to hear some of that feedback and you're like, got it. That may not be where I'm going to focus. That doesn't have as much of an impact on my life, and that's okay. So I'm going to allow that to just not be a big deal, where I'm going to allow the impact that it has on my family, right? So my intensity can kind of ruin a family fun day because it needs to be, whatever it is, whatever that thing is about you.
Okay.
And there's magic that happens in there, because all of a sudden you've kind of surrendered to this thing. It's like, I get it. This is who I am.
Right.
And that's where this radical acceptance of who you are as a human being comes from.
Okay.
And once you can fully accept your strengths and your weaknesses or your challenges, you then get to own them fully. And you get to choose when to use them and how to use them. And there are sometimes you're still going to use that thing for bad. If one of your things is gossipy and like petty, you're going to find that you choose it less, but every now and then it's just going to feel good to be gossipy and petty.
There was this other person I met that said, you say the 5 A's, there was another one that said the 5 F's. And they were like, because if I make a decision, there's only one person to blame. That's me.
It's you.
And yourself. If you have your own business, Tuvia, everybody, if you have your own business, you can only blame. There's nobody behind you. So kick yourself. That's it, you know? So, all right, go ahead.
Yeah. And that's it. No, that's so perfect. You brought that up because that's what this is. This is taking full ownership and acceptance for who you are and that you are the one that's creating your world. You're the only one that's creating all of it.
Right. That's
so
true.
You get to
I
pick.
agree. Yep.
And now you have this whole new realm of possibility in front of you. It's like what that space between the fourth one, accepting, and action, the fifth one, is this like, I get goosebumps every time I talk about it, is this white space of possibility because you now are an active participant in creating the actions that you want to create. You're not just this like machine that keeps doing the thing that you do.
So now you're putting it into plan.
Yeah.
You breathe, you put it in there. And that's where I always say, I think that's why I like this, was because how do you get to that point? You get there. Now you're like, wow, it wasn't that hard.
No. And the more you do this, the faster you get at it. It's like anything. It's a practice, you know, and like practice with little ones. And you can put this framework onto anything where you go from stuck to action. Like if you're feeling stuck somewhere, just do it. Just take a look at it, accept it for what it is, and you get to choose something new in every single moment.
All right. So if you had to take, and I want to ask one more question, before we wrap it up, if you had to take with everything that's going on, we got one more thing. You're going to love this. Let's see. Life is a learning experience.
Yeah, it's trivia.
And then fear is the body telling you to fight, flight. That's why I'm going to introduce you to. So that's what I mean. So now you've done it at this level. Now, pre-COVID, eventually we're going to stop saying that. You know, we are.
Yeah.
But have you noticed, to utilize this, do you find yourself telling people to do it differently than prior to COVID? Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, I talk a lot about how whatever I use more colorful language, but whatever your stuff was before COVID, it's on fire right now. So whatever issues you dealt with, whatever struggles you had. So when using this framework now in the midst of things, I ask people to be extraordinarily gentle with themselves. Do not push yourself through these steps because you only have so much discretionary effort, and a lot of your effort is being used on just being okay with the day.
You know what? Tuvia, I've had my counseling for the day before we talk tonight. Because like you said, because I find myself, and listen, I am no different than anybody else out there. When it comes to, I kind of gear the show towards myself because I think I need to help sometimes. It's okay to ask. Is with COVID, pre-COVID, everything was going good. All right, you had your plans. Then other problems come on with children and every single thing. Now you're trying to put your focus back into the 5 A's. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sometimes you get angry. Oh my God, do I get angry? You know, I'll get like down to number 3 and I don't make it to number 5. And it seems like I go back to number 1.
Yeah.
And try something different. I stuck on 3, I go back to 1. But what I'm trying to do for myself, and that's why I brought you on to educate people is to get from 1 to 5 and then start something different.
Yeah. Yeah. And, understand. I love that you brought it up too. It's like, you can get that aha and like be super aware and you're starting to allow it. And then you will have resistance in every single one of these phases. The thing about it is our natural, those things that we've done all the time, they've got a really good foothold in us and they're going to fight their darndest to keep control. And what you're doing is you're reclaiming control over who you want to be when this thing inside of you is like, nah, man, I've been this for 44 years. Like, I'm not letting go that easy.
No. Yeah. All right. So if you had 30 seconds, to put out some advice from yourself, Larissa, what would it be? What would you tell people either in the business or on a personal side or both to gear it towards, because this can go towards both.
This is both. This is 100% both.
So what would you say?
One of my things is there is nothing wrong with you. You do not need fixing. This is not a tool to fix, change, make different. This is a tool to understand, develop, and grow. So, understanding that if you're using this because you're angry at a part of yourself, it's not going to work.
Right.
Right.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. All right, now go ahead.
And, so I have a podcast called Make Work Human. And so for me, the entire purpose of my life is to blend who we are with the work that we do, right? There is no separation of that. And so understand whatever you pick to work on, it's also going to show up everywhere. So if you pick a work thing, awesome. It's going to show up in your marriage. If you pick something for your marriage, it's going to show up, at your kids' little league, like wherever it is. Whoever we are, we show up everywhere. So don't worry too much about getting the aha right.
Right.
Just pick something and go with it.
Yeah. And I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and talking about that, because, for example, Bob is in transition with a job. We did a video resume and Bob did it. Bob reached out. We've talked a lot of veteran. Wow. Strong veteran, 20 years out of the company. And I was able to hook him up with another company yesterday. And within 48 hours, he had an interview today and he's excited. So Bob, we're hoping for that. And he's listening. Tuvia, when I introduce you to him, Tuvia is a gentleman that really, I like Tuvia because he comes up with those ideas that at first I was like, what do you mean? But when you get to really listen to him,
yeah,
he will just blow your world away. He'll, in his thought process. So, and that's what I like about with LinkedIn right now is I tell people is to reach out. When you see somebody like a video like yourself, that resonated with me. So it's okay to reach out to you or reach out to somebody when they see some ideas. I don't think you would turn somebody down if they said, Larissa, hey, I watched your show, message you. Could you help me with something? I mean,
God. I'm over here like, please let me. I post a video every Monday, and in the comments, I post a link to a calendar link for my LinkedIn Connect. Like, if something in that video caught your attention, you can book, 15, 30 minutes with me to like chat about it.
That's awesome.
This is not, I truly am here to be of service in the world. I'm blessed to be able to do the work that I love and make the impact that I do. But beyond that, these messages and these teachings, everybody can use them.
That's right.
So, yeah.
And they can get a hold of you. I'll put your email on the link here, Larissa.
Yep.
Say that. Cute.
It's Quivit Consulting. There's a whole backstory there too.
So they can reach out to you. And you said you do your shows on LinkedIn when?
So I do a video every Monday.
Okay.
And then I also doing Facebook Live. So if you're over there, find me on Facebook. I do Facebook Lives on Friday. You can connect with me through that Calendly. And I also have a podcast called Make Work Human, and that drops every Friday.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much. Look at that, 23 minutes. That wasn't too bad. Look at that, right?
Awesome.
Strong roots, but our branches sway in the wind. See?
Yeah. You've got it, man. You've got those inspirations down.
It does, and it just comes off of them. So thank you so much, Larissa, and thank you, everybody. And we're going to repost this. We'll have it on YouTube link, and we're going to end it.